And you know, I enjoyed it, and it was a good machine. And the guys, the thing that brought me over was the money picture. The court reporter was Glenn Perrin, and Glenn told me that if I was well, he told me first that he was a court reporter, and if he did as well the last half of '57 as he had done the first half, he would make $12,000. And I just thought that was just fantastic. And if he could make $12,000 out in Kansas, in Topeka and Junction City, I could make 25 in Atlanta, Georgia. So I began to study a little bit harder. And when I got out of the Army in 1957 in September, I'd served 2 years. I decided that I would look for some sort of tutor. And so I found Howard H. Jenkins, who was a court reporter from Fulton County, who then had quit Fulton County and had gone from the official court reporter practice to freelance. And so he decided that he would open a little school. And it was a part-time school, of course, because he was taking depositions by day and teaching by night. And he called his high-ranking facility Howard Jenkins College of Shorthand Knowledge. So that is where I attended and built my speed up with Howard's help to about 180, between 180 and 200 words a minute. And I had gone from my plantation pipeline company job at that time. I had gone back with them when I got out of the service, and I had gone back to plantation, and then I got an opportunity to go to work with Southern Railway as the secretary to the district freight and passenger agent in Rome, Georgia. So I went up there in, it seems like it was maybe June or July, and I began to work with plantation, and I was studying on the machine still. And all of a sudden, after I had been there for 6 months, I got a call from Howard Jenkins, who knew a judge in DeKalb County with the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit. And that was three counties. That was DeKalb and Conyers or Rockdale County and Covington, which was Newton County. And so that was our counties that we covered, the 3 counties. And I would get in the car and go down to the other courthouses with my judge. His name was H.O. Hubert, Jr. And Judge Hubert was a sight. He smoked Camel cigarettes, and as we had courtroom, you know, he'd take that hand with that Camel cigarette in it, and he'd hit it. So at the end of the trial, he'd have a whole pile of ashes down there. And at that time, everybody smoked. You know, they smoked in the courtroom, and you know, and they continued smoking even in depositions for a long, long time, myself included. So I did that. I started that way, and I stayed in DeKalb County and the Stone Mountain Judicial Circuit until in April of 1961. I had decided to go to work for the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, which was Fulton County, the main court in Atlanta. So I did, and I started there in April of '61. And at that time, I saw, after I was employed as a court reporter in Fulton County, the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, I then found an article in Consumer's Report. And the article said, whatever you do, young people, don't go into court reporting. With the advent of the new tape recorders that are coming out, everybody can just set one of these tape recorders up and get a record that way. And so they said, just don't do it. Well, I did it, and I'd already done it, so I was committed, and the industry, the profession just went vertical. And then I came out of the court in November of 1968, and Howard Worley and I formed Brown and Worley. And I knew most all the lawyers because they had come to the courthouse to do their trials. And I was always one of the ones that said, you know, hey, it's my office, but the telephone is yours. Nobody had a cell phone at that time, so they'd come to my office, even if they were before, not my judge, but one judge in one of the other courts downstairs. I was on the 8th floor, so they'd come from the 2nd floor up to the 8th and use my office. And I was sort of befriended all of them. And I was the first floating court reporter in the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. And I knew that I had to go into different courts. I didn't have an assigned judge. Well, at that time, the court reporter, whose name was McCain, he decided that he was going to retire. And he was a Pittman reporter. And so he retired, and then I stepped in to fill in for his judge. But I still remained a floating reporter, so if somebody else needed me, I could go to another court. And at that time, we could go on and do depositions as well as our court work. So I was able to, if the court wasn't in session, I was able to go and do depositions. And in 1960 or 61, whenever John F. Kennedy was assassinated, I found myself in a county in I think it was either North or South Carolina, and all of a sudden there was a big upheaval about our president had been shot, and so we saw the film on the TV in the airport, and at that time everybody was very solemn, and of course I think the whole country just regretted the loss of our president, and then the next few days, we saw the fact that the guy had gone in and shot the guy that had shot from the library that had shot.
So from the time that you were in court, you were doing some depositions on the side,
right? And
with your firm, and then at some point, Mr. Worley and you went your separate ways, or? Right.
In 1970, I decided that Howard was a good friend, and I had been with him in DeKalb County, and he was instrumental in teaching. And Howard Worley, we're talking about now, not Howard Jenkins. Howard Worley was instrumental in helping me make my records and explaining to me the format and all this sort of stuff. And so I owed him a great gratitude for his help in teaching me what to do in the steps. And we went out and took depositions and did assignments together.